Eric, quick question before we get started. One of my residents, one of my constituents asked me to read, is the letter that everybody received. She asked me to read in council. Should that be done at public comment or during the visit?
Why don't you read it?
Should it be done at public comment? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
But if you want to read it, it's going to be better. Oh,
It's
because
okay.
your email said that it wouldn't come, would be part of the minute, but we don't know. Yeah, okay, I just want to know when the.
I read that they got Sunday ticket on this.
At this time, the city of Plattsburgh is holding a public hearing to hear the final public comment for the final draft 2023 comprehensive plan for the city of Plattsburgh. I'll now take a motion to open the public hearing. Motion by Councilor Bond, thank you. Second, thank you, by Councilor Bob. All in favor? The public hearing is now open. I now open the floor to any persons intending to make comments at this public hearing regarding the 2023 comprehensive master plan for the city of Plattsburgh. Seeing no one, I will take a motion to close the public hearing. Motion by Councilor Bob, second by Councilor Bond. All in favor? Hearing is closed. This time, I'd like to call the September 7th, 2023 regular meeting of Common Council order. It is now 5:05 p.m. Please rise and join me to pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Mr. Arnold, will you please conduct the roll call?
Mayor Rosenthal.
Here.
Council Vaughn.
Here.
Council Kelly.
Here.
Council Gibbs. Here. Council Powell. Here. Council Bob. Here. Council Moore.
Here. All councilors have received a copy of the minutes of the August 7th, 2023 regular meeting. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections, I will now entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Councilor Gibbs, second. Councilor Kelly, any changes, alterations, or deletions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. I'll now recognize those in the audience who wish to share their thoughts and concerns with the council on any topic. Please come to the podium to be acknowledged, and when called upon, will you please ask? Oh, that's fine. Will you please ask that you state your legal name and address for the record? In accordance with the organizational rules of order, all speakers will be given 5 minutes to address the council.
Hello, my name is Michelle Armstrong, 15 Massachusetts Street, Plattsburgh, New York. I'm the City Climate Task Force Coordinator. I'm here to speak on behalf of the task force and I'm issuing a joint statement with Kurt Burbidge. He's a member of our task force and planning board member and professor in the Center for Earth and Environmental Studies. He's unable to be here because he's on staff. We don't need to convince you that the climate crisis is real. In April of 2022, council unanimously acknowledged that fact when it reestablished the climate task force with the city and achieving New York State climate resilient goals. The task force has served the city well, helping it exceed all expectations for progress in just 1 year, when it was able to file for a climate smart community bronze certification on behalf of the city last July. Following and I'll call it Climate Smart Community, aka CSC, for brevity's sake. Following that framework, the city has achieved some admirable goals and has enjoyed the satisfaction of achieving significant measures to decrease energy use and carbon emissions. We want to acknowledge all the ways in which city staff have contributed to this effort. The city deserves our community's recognition and gratitude for doing so. Now the city is ready to develop a climate action plan to systematically target reductions in the area of energy use and carbon emissions based on data from the greenhouse gas inventory conducted last spring. These studies were funded by a $30,000 matching grant from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Overall, this and other climate work has been done with the support of hundreds of volunteer hours provided by the task force. We think it's important to note here that overall volunteers have offered professional level work at no cost. These efforts are comparable to work most communities would hire consultants to do. Hundreds of volunteer hours equals thousands of dollars saved. Now that the climate action plan is in the process of being developed, it's time to take climate work to the next level, beyond ticking off items on the CFC checklist, which is really gratifying to do, but this process for a climate action plan is invaluable. It's an invaluable opportunity to put climate work at the center of the city's efforts to build a safe, healthy, and livable future for its citizens. As recent news constantly reminds them, sustainability work must be primary, a priority. All of the challenges the city must face, economic, public safety, infrastructural, all of the business it undertakes should be considered through the lens of climate change and the need to foster resilience. New precipitation and storm patterns, new patterns of snowmelt and flooding, ice jams, heat events, and energy mandates all impact the way the city operates. Recent data collected by the task force shows that climate change is already impacting the workload and operations of city departments. They are discarding old equipment, purchasing new equipment, making new plans, preparing for weather events, altering their budget strategies, all because of climate change. We hope to present these data at an upcoming meeting, but for now, we want you to know that climate change is impacting the way we function. Yet, we're only indirectly acknowledging this in our decision-making and strategic planning process. This approach does not serve us well, as it puts us on our back feet in a reactive mode rather than proactively confronting reality. We urge you to commit your wholehearted attention and support for the effort to develop energy and carbon emission reductions in the climate action plan. All city stakeholders need to be vigorously engaged in this planning process, which was begun over the last 2 weeks when the mayor approved sharing a 10-minute video that presented the results of the GHG inventory and next steps with a cap to department heads, followed by a survey, which has been collected. This was a good first step, but our climate action planning will not be successful if we're limited to recorded presentations and online surveys. Effective climate action planning requires deliberate discussion among departments, brainstorming, idea generation, data collection, and experimentation. Without these elements, our climate action plan will sit on a shelf. Sometimes the plan sits on a shelf, gathering dust, and it doesn't matter. This plan matters. We must not squander the opportunity to plan for climate change. If we do, we risk the possibility of being hit by storms like the 1998 ice storm, which we all remember, or more tropical storms like Irene, or floods like those we experienced this summer. We strongly recommend that you work according to the engagement plan developed by Cindy Plattsburgh and Vermont Energy Investment Corporation, with whom the city contracted by authoring, and this is what we want you to do, authorize staff to attend a climate action planning workshop this fall, so that we can host deep discussions that will allow us to develop effective useful climate action plan. City government's efforts to adapt to climate change saves money, increases efficiency, and enhances quality of life. Adapting to climate change is the work of running a city. It is not separate, parallel, or adjacent. It is literally the task you signed up to do. It is planning, gaining public support, budgeting, and improving operations. It is not a separate issue. You can choose to address or not. Whether or not you want to intend to do it or know it, you're all climate planners now. please step up, own and name that responsibility by making the development of the climate action plan a major priority over the next few months. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I've got copies. I'll ask you to pass them down, so Ron. Thank you. And this is.
Yeah, I'll now
Thank you,
recognize,
Michelle.
thank you, Michelle. I'll now recognize those in the audience who share the thoughts on the service California.
Sorry.
Name and address?
Sure.
Alright. That's why they got one. Cohen Fitzwater, 2 Kennedy Ave. I'm not gonna take up the whole of my 5 minutes. I am the president of the High School Student Association at Plattsburgh High School. And I wanted to come to talk to you about one thing today. A parade route starting at Stafford Middle School, down Broad Street, down Ruger Street, and ending at the high school for our 2023 homecoming celebration. I understand the city's position on the parade routes, I really do, that they be standardized for events and organizations in the community to avoid road closures and other disruptions. However, for the homecoming parade, I cannot disagree more with the standardized parade routes. It simply does not make sense for the high school homecoming parade to pass absolutely nowhere near the high school. It just does not sit well with us. The Student Association, tasked with organizing the annual homecoming events, cannot accept the offered parade routes through downtown or otherwise. It must be the Stafford to the high school parade routes. And further, the parade is a valued part of the homecoming celebration, and it serves to bring the community together. However, as seen with last year's similarly diminished parade routes, bringing the community together is difficult for us to organize when you are only given 1,500 feet of runway and 5 minutes to do so. Countless students and parents voiced their surprise at the length of the parade and asked for the old routes to come back, and you will recognize I said old routes. So I ask you as a body to grant us the parade permit for our desired route to Stafford to high school. And as public officials, I would hope that you would work with community partners such as the district and be flexible and bring people together over what should be a unifying topic, our homecoming celebration parade. In my asking of the city, I'm not a trailblazer. I'm not doing anything new by this or asking for anything novel. In fact, this route, as I said earlier, is not new. It was the route used by students for the homecoming parade for years. It was the standard route, and everyone had known that. Until the city stopped granting us that permit last year. We simply want our parade back. Therefore, we urgently calling you guys to approve the permit for the former parade route. Let's give us that parade route back from Stafford Middle School up to the senior high school. And we do not think that this is too much to ask from the city. It is not only my wish, but also the hope of the student body at large. To restore our homecoming parade. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to address council on any topic? Thanks.
Good evening, my name is Jessica Renee. I'm here to speak on my husband's behalf, Kevin Renee, owners of 5 Woodwood Drive in Plattsburgh. My husband's late grandmother owned this property for nearly 60 years. Of her life until her passing this past year. During the time she owned 5 Ridgewood, she spent approximately 6 to 10 weeks a year at this home, as her most favorite places to reside were Marco Island in Florida during the winters, and her family camp on the water in Fort Kent during the summers. She lived to be 95 years old and had an empty house without children for, you can imagine, the last several decades of her time at Ridgewood. I'm sure you can picture how quiet this house was on Ridgewood Drive for many of the neighbors. When the opportunity came for Kevin to purchase his grandmother's home, one that he had fond memories of visiting, it was a no-brainer. Although I just recently had bought a house myself in Morrisonville for my kids to finish out their school career with their friends in the Barronett district, where they had gone their whole life, we knew it would be only a matter of time that we could see ourselves living at Ridgewood once they were out of school a few short years from now. Until that time came, we opted to utilize the property as both a place for friends and family to stay when they visited, and also as an Airbnb. We like the rules and reviews that come with Airbnb. It's very difficult to be an irresponsible guest through Airbnb and get away with it. The company makes it a point to protect hosts and vacationers alike and does not hesitate to publish bad reviews from either party, so there is transparency in accepting who stays at your home. Many Airbnbs are homes of folks who actually still are living and residing in that home that they rent. They simply offer single rooms or maybe even another level of the home. As you can see from the first page of the packet I provided you, we have had 12 Airbnb guests and 2 physicians I work with have stayed here since our purchase of the property. If Kevin and I were able to reside here today, we would still probably offer our place as an Airbnb with single rooms as an option, as it's a very large home and there's a lot of space to offer those who may need a place while they're visiting town. My husband and I vacation regularly with our children. We utilize Airbnbs everywhere we go, as do millions of other people worldwide. We have stayed in Airbnbs in Chicago, Boston, several areas of Florida, Wyoming, Colorado, Vermont, New Hampshire. I have personally also stayed in an Airbnb in Africa during a medical mission. And we have upcoming trips in New Jersey and North Carolina already booked. The places we have stayed have varied from country houses to city duplexes, surrounded by friendly neighbors who seem to enjoy meeting us when given the opportunity. Never have Kevin and I stayed in an Airbnb where we felt unwelcomed by the surrounding residents. We opt to utilize Airbnb as we know we are giving back to a property owner who is a local tax-paying community member versus a hotel that is more expensive, less convenient for families, overall can be more dangerous at times, especially when you have children who need their own private space and owned by non-local business persons, usually. A claim made at a previous council meeting was that there was 100 Airbnbs in Plattsburgh, which again leaves me thoroughly confused. As when I searched Plattsburgh places to rent on the site, the search generated around 30, but most of those being in a Cliff Haven or outside of the city limits. Another falsehood that has brought to the council's attention is in regards to tax revenues. If you see page 5 of the packet, where you'll read an article in regards to tax revenue collected on behalf of Airbnb hosts by Airbnb, the same 3% occupancy tax that hotels collect is collected on behalf of hosts and distributed to the county quarterly. Also a reminder, there is no hotel in the city limits of Plattsburgh. The first couple of months while we started to do construction and upgrades to the home at Ridgewood, Kevin was routinely called and visited by the code enforcement officer. It was unique to our experience to have such attention given to us in comparison to our other property purchases. But we rolled with it. Everything from partial concerns, asking who was staying in our house, fire escape plans, etc. We addressed and dealt with each concern as they were addressed. Luckily, there's nothing more unsafe about our house than I'm sure any other house on Ridgewood Drive. I encourage you to explore the first page of the packet when you have time to see the reasons our guests are coming to Plattsburgh, why they opted for an Airbnb versus a hotel, and the money and contributions they gave to our community while they were here. You will see a few hunters, professional fishermen, one from Canada, another from Tennessee. You'll see a work group from the Adirondack Farms, the 2 physicians mentioned earlier that have stayed here during their local work, my co-workers in my department, as well as parents of PSU students coming to watch their children play rugby and soccer. You will see regular families visiting the area just wanting to spend a week at the beach and or attend a special occasion. Some of these folks being previous residents of Plattsburgh, visiting old friends and family. To say that there's no benefit to our community by offering a comfortable housing environment to what I could describe as my personal favorite, transient, is not only outlandish, but it's just a lie. To say that if we hadn't purchased this home for an Airbnb, it could have been a family with children that somehow provided more state aid, also outlandish. This home had not had children in it for decades before purchasing it, and it will not have kids in it by the time we live there ourselves. But one thing will not change, and this is what we pay for in school taxes, which is what actually funds our schools. When you go to page 6 of the packet, you'll see from left to right, screenshots of one mother who came to state up to visit her daughter who attends PSU. Although she gave us a 5-star review, you can clearly see by the text message she received that she was overall very concerned by the neighbor's treatment of her family during their stay. City police officer was called at approximately 8 p.m. by a neighbor of Ridgewood for what they felt was a parking violation on their street. Donna, our guest, you can see, was abiding by our house rules, except that her daughter's friend and rugby teammate who had come for a barbecue had parked just in front of our house. The police officer was thankfully friendly, nearly apologetic, and explained he had to come to the house because the call was made, but that no one was doing anything wrong. No tickets were given, obviously, but the impression was made very clear. They were not welcome on this street. Which brings me to my next point, a page in the packet. Page 7 offers several different pictures that we have taken throughout the summer after our first meeting with the code enforcement officer about not allowing people to utilize the street for parking. As you can see, the residents of Ridgewood feel that they can themselves park as much as they like on the street, any time of day, and any time during the week. Although this doesn't bother me, nor would it really anyone sitting in this room, I would hope. It seems to be a very large concern in Pulaski to state how Airbnbs provide unsafe situations, such as parking on the street. I'd like to know how the rest of the residents feel about banning street parking, and if this is truly a safety concern. In the packet after the parking pictures on page 8, you'll find a text message again from Airbnb that was sent by Lisa, a lady booking through Airbnb who had read the first published article by the Press Republican that Margaret Schlafly was featured in. As you can see, she had given a very unwelcoming impression to a family who was concerned because they had foster children. Fact. We as Airbnb hosts could only reassure them that they should not worry, as the neighbors of Ridgewood were mostly welcoming, and this was only a couple of residents on the street. They thankfully did not report having any issues, as Donna previously had described during their stay. Many of you may feel the feelings of visiting outsiders of the community isn't your priority. However, I beg to differ with you, as I do believe that this town thrives from our tourist community. And with or without Airbnbs, we'll always have a human obligation to be nothing short of decent to each other. The last discussion that I feel the council should be both graciously and cautiously walking into is considering using Airbnbs as a scapegoat to blame a housing crisis that is impacting the nation and not just Plattsburgh. The last page I've provided for you is just some numbers that give a rough idea of how much the average household, based on the Census Bureau, of an average household income in Plattsburgh, and how much the average house value is. As all educated folks in this room, you can see that compared to the price at which an average Ridgewood home costs versus the salary which is necessary to afford a home of that cost, it is more than double of our average household. When we speak about banning Airbnbs to quote fix what is much more of an issue to do with the exploding inflation of both the housing market and loan costs versus the relatively flat and unchanging rate of income, it not only seems like a lazy and ineffective but seemingly low-hanging fruit idea, it also appears to be self-motivated and opportunistic on a political level that really doesn't even begin to help those who actually need the help for county. If we are going to work together as a community to fix a national level problem, it might want to begin with starting with a major issue of the crisis. Our house on Ridgewood could easily become a long-term rental. This fight will not impact how we rent, but rather to whom we rent. And in a lot of ways, we make us a lot more money if this is what it was about. Than the mere $6,000 we have earned in 9 months through Airbnb. Keep in mind our taxable loan of $15,000, which is, if I did the math, a little more than a quarter of the average household income in Plattsburgh for these residents to afford a home. College housing, also needed in Plattsburgh, is so affordable multi-family apartment units, all of which we would have the option of doing at the Ridgewood home, but then maybe that was inappropriate to do to our neighbors in a quiet street. However, it seems as if our peaceful, professional, money-generating guests at the Airbnb also is not an option to a few people living there. And now, a few of you may be sitting here today. The real solution to housing is adding properties to more options to those who can afford it. I would also like to remind everyone here that although we are allowed to express our dislike of certain situations, as Mr. Plotkin and Mrs. Strack have done, as educated adults, it is completely irresponsible and damaging to the progression of the solution to not only lie, but to feed misinformation and then subsequently have that implant as if it is the truth. It is also unacceptable to harass and mistreat people on vacation here or working here just because you have big feelings that you obviously can't control or can't be backed up by anything more than just being bitter. Kevin and I are joined with other responsible Airbnb owners both in the city and directly outside of the city, who all feel that there's a responsibility of the council to distinguish between the misinformation and the real issues of Plattsburgh. It is not a service to those needing housing in Plattsburgh, distracting the real problems and causing a housing crisis by banning anything. If you want solutions, then think about what people need and what they can afford. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the council on any topic?
My name is Roger Brown, I'm at 169 River Street. I love everything that she says. I'll make it short. I don't want to be, there's a lot of different situations on Airbnb. People have different, like for myself, I live in a duplex, and I live in a duplex, I rent on Airbnb, I have a couple hundred guests. I love it. My guests are great, but I don't want all Airbnbs to be painted with the same brush. So any decision you make on regulating Airbnbs, I think if you would consider that, we go a long way in solving the problem.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the council? Yeah, please.
Laurel Bean, 3692 State Route 9, Peru, New York. I was asked to share some feedback on hotels and bass fishing in Lake Champlain. So I am a bass fisherman, not much of one this year, unfortunately, but I have had the pleasure of renting an apartment or a house to Bass Pros, as well as participating with them on practice days, you know what a day in the life is like, and it's a lot of work. But the number one thing for them, I know this, I share this because you're considering a hotel and what things would make it more attractive for professional bass fishing. Well, the number one issue for them was proximity to where they're launching, because all that travel is wasted time. And you can see that they're down as far as Sable Chasm to be in Plattsburgh the next morning for, crack of dawn. So the number one thing they're looking for is proximity to where they're dropping off and picking up their boat, because that's all wasted time and more sleep and more time to prepare. The second thing is, you keep in mind, they've got a $75,000 to $100,000 boat, a $50,000 truck, $20,000 of tackle locked up in their gear. They want a place where it's going to be safe to leave that. So they actually are used to these country places because they're off the Eaton Trail. They can hide their boats in the back. My place had a loop around driveway and a big, meadow in the back, so they could back up 4 boats easily, which was their golden feature. So safety for their equipment, and then obviously power. They've got to recharge batteries at night. Really safety of the boats and of their equipment. After that, it's really periphery stuff, Walmart and Dick's for fishing stuff, boat places for repairs, boat service techs available, things like that, troubleshooting. So, if you're looking for feedback on how to make Plattsburgh's potential hotel more fisherman friendly, that's what I got on.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the council on any topic?
I'd like to.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
No, it's from the microphone, so, I'd like to read the public comment. My constituent asked me to read it out loud. It doesn't reflect my opinion. I'm just, doing as she wished. Her name is Jill Healy. She lives at 20 Olivetti Place. She states, I'm writing this letter in support of the Airbnb community in the city of Plattsburgh. I have successfully hosted our home on Airbnb for the last 5 years and would like to discuss the areas of concern and misinformation that have been put forth in relation to hosting on the Airbnb platform. Local residents have voiced concern that the only ones benefiting financially from Airbnb are the individuals who are hosting. This is not an accurate statement. An Airbnb guest pays 3% occupancy tax to Clinton County of Humboldt. This tax is paid to Clinton County quarterly. Based on the most recent research from the impact of visitors in New York 2021, tourism in the Adirondacks yielded $233 million in state and local taxes in 2021. Were it not for tourism generated state and local tax, the average household in the region would have to pay an additional $2,172 to maintain the same level of government revenue already hard hit by the pandemic. This occupancy tax also helps to facilitate events such as the fishing tournaments on Lake Champlain and contribute to the I Love New York campaign, all of which facilitate revenue and generate for our city. As a host, I leave guests a list of many suggestions of locally owned businesses such as pubs, restaurants, and stores. This enhances their stay in the area along with bringing in the funds to keep businesses thriving. In 2019, we researched ordinances and local laws in the city of Plattsburgh pertaining to short-term rentals of the Airbnb type. We also spoke with local officials about our venture. Our findings were that there was nothing prohibiting the start of an Airbnb within our primary residence. I do think it is noteworthy that I live on a residential street with college housing. We are a single dwelling home and we are in accordance with that definition by operating an Airbnb. As an Airbnb host, we only host 2 individuals who have optimal reviews. We inquire why they are staying in the area. We build a relationship prior to their stay. We hold how we host in high regard. We love our neighbors in the area we're living in. We want to ensure a positive experience for everyone. A ban on Airbnb in the city of Plattsburgh is a drastic measure and is not warranted. Look at other ways to compromise on this issue. Increase the paltry occupancy tax or implement a nominal fee for a permit hosts of Airbnb. I am hopeful that you will explore all aspects of this. Airbnb is a positive for our city. Thank you for your time, Jay.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to address the council on any topic? Seeing none, I'll now go on committee reports. Each standing committee is chaired by a counselor, and I'll now call upon that chairperson of each committee, starting with City Operations Council.
So our last meeting got canceled because we didn't have any resolutions on the agenda. Our next meeting is going to be on September 11th at 5 o'clock.
Finance and Economic Development and Community Development. Our next meeting is September 14th at 5 p.m. Thank you. City Infrastructure Council.
Nothing new to add, Mayor, except we have some items on the agenda.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Kelly, and due to vacations and cancellations, we did host a meeting. It was not considered a public meeting. We still live streamed it. We did talk about the items that are on tonight's agenda. It was not moved by the committee, but took liberty to add it to the agenda for consideration for the night.
Appreciate you doing that, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public Safety, Councilor Fox.
Our next meeting is September 18th at 5 p.m. and we do have 2 items on the agenda tonight.
Thank you. I'll now move on to liaison reports by the Public Library Council.
Yeah, just wanted to comment that they're searching for a new director. Ann is going to be leaving. She's done a very fine job over there. And she'll be greatly missed. They're in the process of selecting someone now, so there will be a new director soon on that. And that's all I had for that.
Thank you, sir. Plattsburgh Municipal Lighting Department, Councilor Gibbs.
We had our meeting, it was August 31st, and there are a couple of items on the agenda tonight. Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Just a reminder, both the next meeting is on November 30th. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
November 30th.
Yes, got 5 years. And that'll be the last one for the year.
Is that their call?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you. Climate Smart Task Force liaison Gibbs and or Councilor Gibbs or Councilor Town.
Yes, I have some updates for council. Rochelle asked me to read a statement that says, "Thank you, Mayor Rosenthal, for recently acknowledging the imperative of educating the public and building community support for sustainability initiative. Task force has already begun to plan for this action, has arranged for a SUNY Plattsburgh anthropology major to help with the strategic plan for the CSC priority action. To support effective public outreach, we suggest that the city earmark green initiative money for climate change education. We will submit a proposal for materials purchase once the outreach plan is developed and urge your. She asked me to read that to council. And she also asked me to share a poster that was made. You know, another example of great things being done with volunteer time. So I'm going to send that down. And one final thing she asked. Oh, okay. She also asked for an update on the grant application reviewed by Lake Champlain Basin Program and the Water Smart Landscaping Group. Is the city interested in submitting its application for Lake Champlain Basin Program Clean Water and Healthy Ecosystem Small Grant. If so, we need to request a review of our 2022 proposal, which was Plattsburgh 2022 Clean Water and Healthy Ecosystem proposal. And she wanted to know, was this request for review made of LCDH? So
I'll have to double check that. I think it was with Bob Murphy, so I'll have to double
I
check.
think so. I brought this up at a finance meeting. I don't recall what the answer was.
I think at the time we were reviewing it and it got submitted, and I gotta go back and look at my notes because it was a while back, but we submitted it, it was recategorized or categorized incorrectly. It was then denied, and then I think we had to go back and then it was reconsidered under a different program or something like this. So I'd have to go back and ask.
And we also submitted for certification. And hopefully we will hear back or have we heard?
The 20th is the new date.
Okay. Thank you.
Michelle?
Okay, and next Tuesday, I'm going to be participating in a Zoom meeting with Michelle and Alicia, and we're going to be discussing how to help out with Earth Day and with Plattsburgh High School.
Mr. Shelley, staff member reports. We actually just received the report from the Climate Smart Task Force, which is dated July 26th. July 26th. I'll now report on the payrolls of the various city departments in the city of Plattsburgh approved by the common council for the week ending August 23rd, 2023, in the amount of $648,342.83, and September 6th, 2023, in the amount of $619,376.62. I'll now also report on the bills audited by the common council for the weeks ending August 25th, 2023, in the amount of $2,768,449.05. September 1st, 2023, in the amount of $1,338,874.83. And September 8th, 2023, in the amount of $1,654,281.50. Before voting on the following resolutions, I'll note that the majority of these resolutions have been thoroughly discussed by the appropriate committees and department heads. Excuse me, and we're now taking action on these items in large part due to the recommendation of those committees. Ms. Carlin, will you please read the titles of the resolutions to be acted upon?
Item 7.168, adoption of the final draft 2023 comprehensive plan for the city of Plattsburgh.
Motion by Councilor Bott, second, Councilor Kelly, discussion.
I couldn't locate this. I emailed Beth last night. The items went into our agenda folder very late Tuesday. I work all day. And I did not get to reading what the updates were. So I'm going to abstain from the vote tonight because I can't make an educated decision on that. So I just want council to understand that.
Well, I couldn't find it either. I did not see the email, so I'm going to, until I'm able to read through it, I'm going to stay myself.
Well, I have a similar problem here too, especially on these larger documents. I don't use my large computer for city business. I use it for my own personal business. And I have a lot of trouble reading these things, especially these longer documents. I would really appreciate if we could have when these things come out, to have a print copy of it so that I can review it. I just didn't get a chance to get to it. There were so many things on the agenda this week and I didn't get a chance to review it well. I was trying to compare it with the original earlier document. I really need a print document to be able to review these larger.
I would appreciate that.
It was sent on August 23rd to you all.
Yes, and I couldn't find it. I remembered and I couldn't find it. And then when I went into the meeting folder Tuesday night, I just didn't see it readily, and then that's when I emailed you. So I'm not saying it wasn't ever sent. I'm just saying
I didn't get it on there.
I just forgot, and then I couldn't locate it. Oh, we just said that. I said I'm not doubting that it wasn't sent. I'm just saying, from my own perspective, I just did not have enough time to review whatever I don't know what the final drafts are. So I'm just going to abstain from the vote. I'm not voting no on it. I'm just going to abstain because I can't make an endpoint.
Was there any changes made from the last time
There were minor revisions to refine the document for its readability. and professional presentation, essentially. There was a small segment added to enhance the document, in the existing condition section to provide projections for, population projection, estimates for how much the city could potentially grow or what type of growth might be expected, but that's not part of the actual plan. So there was no major changes to the actual content of the plan.
That was
Just refining of the language and graphics essentially.
Yeah, and in the future, anybody ever needs printout, just let us know. I mean, like, it's no.
Yeah, 'cause I don't take it, so I don't wanna waste the paper on like myself, but for people who need it,
Yeah,
it should.
Same here.
It's no big deal.
Yeah, no,
It's quite personally no big deal to make a request. We've done it before, at the request of council.
Even on the computer.
Sure, no big deal.
Well, I guess I requested. It's cost me one minute. Print out large
Well,
enough.
we'll follow the budget, so those, we have a budget for council to do these things, right? So just please don't hesitate if that's what you need to get your job done, but yes, then just please just let us know. It's not, like I said, it's not a big deal. We've done it before. We've had council ask for printed papers for a large document like this. I know for myself, if it's a large document, it's easier for me to hold it in my hand, carry it around, it's a reminder to go back, look at it, and mark on it, put some notes on it. So again, just let us know if you need that. That way we're not, we don't feel like you're being left out.
Does this have to be voted on tonight? Is there a deadline attached to this?
There's not a specific deadline for this, but this is a project that has been in process for over 2 years, and I think it's important for the city to move it forward so we can focus more on the initiatives that we're trying to put in place to better it. So the sooner we do it, the sooner we can provide energy to other important items.
Yeah, and sorry, just to keep in mind that this is not a brand new document, it's something that has probably been in front of council several times at this point. Again, if there are no substantive changes at this point, reviewing what you've already reviewed to get to this point is, and postponing the vote is, I don't know what more benefit that would provide.
I just want to be sure what I'm voting on. I was just gonna ask, if we tabled it until the next meeting, would that harm the process?
I can't say that it would harm the process, it would just postpone the implementation of the plan and prolong the process.
That is, can you make me a copy and I'll come and get mine tomorrow and like vote yes on this tonight?
Yeah, we can get it back.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs, abstain. Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
All abstaining.
Carried.
Item 7.169, authorized Harborside Hotel Development Agreement.
Motion by Councilor Talon, second by Councilor Bach, discussion.
Yes, I just wanted to share my thoughts on this. Final thoughts. I know we're going to do our vote on this tonight. I did read the 2 documents that were placed in our confidential folder. I suppose these are the soil studies that we were asking for. I contacted the DEC directly. I called them and contacted the gentleman in office who this is his specialty, and he walked through the DEC cleanup documents with me. He hasn't placed them on the DEC info locator website yet. So I'll share some of that information now. In general, these are my feelings about the development agreement. I know that we have paid for feasibility studies. And the feasibility study has said that location is likely, how can I say this? A hotel is likely the best use of that property. But what we don't know is, with an independent feasibility study, is this hotel the best fit for that property? And so absent that, we're taking a risk. When we look at the development agreement, it is a $1.2 million, roughly $1.2 million sale for the parcel. The provision in there for the site cleanup, we are saying that we're gonna reimburse up to $300,000. Site cleanup is most definitely going to take place because the DEC did not. The DEC terminated the brownfield agreement with Monahan because they wanted to lean their part. So we're definitely going to be spending $300,000, which really means the sale of that property is going to be a total of $900,000. So the internal memo that I located that it was shared with me by Councilor Moore. From 2020, the developer already acknowledged that the site needed further cleanup. So that's already been acknowledged from 3 years ago. So we will also have to pay for mandatory environmental consultant. That's going to be a cost. I don't know what that cost will be, but I'm sure it's not cheap. The remedial work on the sewage treatment plant is going to have to be done. That's a cost to us. There'll have to be waterfront cleanup because there's riprap and there's other kind of bedraggled looking parts of that property. That's going to be done by us. So that's all cost. So after all this, we're not really going to profit from the sale like we think we are. It's located in the floodplain. I had that conversation with the DEC representative as well. I know that Matt has shared with us that the FEMA floodplain maps say we are above, what I think you said 6 feet above their designated floodplain. But I think that we also know that with the changing climate, that can change. So that might be the FEMA floodplain map now, but I don't know if it will be in 5 years from now. I've already expressed my concerns about going into an agreement with an LLC. Don't really know who all the members of that LLC are. The site cleanup information was the most important to me. The DEC terminated the brownfield agreement because the developer did not hold up their end of the agreement. They did not complete the cleanup. They sealed the site, they paved it, and put grass on there. So there wouldn't be runoff from that site into the lake. It's cleaned for commercial and industrial, but not for residential. And the DEC calls this is something that I thought was interesting. In the document I found, the DEC references this piece of property as a waterfront park. And I don't know if that impacts the sale. I'm just saying that as an I don't know. I can't support this for all those reasons that I have said. The risk versus reward is for private industry. Risk versus reward is not what we do as a municipality, because we are using taxpayer money, and I don't think that this is something that we should take a risk on.
Any further discussion?
Well, I just wanted, I'm not gonna follow up on anything that Councilor Gibbs brought up, but I just want to say there's gonna be a lot of peripheral costs that are gonna be added to this project. We're gonna have to improve access to the area with a better road. When you get beyond the hotel site, the boat launch, there'll have to be access provided for that. There's no good roadway down there. I think we're gonna end up spending a lot more money than we think on this site. And I really doubt that there's a lot of money out there for a site like this. So we've been fooled once, we've been fooled twice. Here we are, getting in line to move to get fooled again. So I can't in any way back that.
Thank you.
I'd like to take an opportunity, to just make a couple points. So something, Elizabeth, when she brought up these points about the soil, I did want to look into it further. I'm satisfied with the information that we received. Something that I thought about though, even when we were in the process of looking at it is, if we're saying the property is worth 1.2 million, but then it does indeed need remediation, then it is worth less. It is indeed worth 900,000. So I'm okay with us getting less for it if it is indeed worth less. The same way it would work in a housing deal, that's the way it would work in anything. As far as the road and the surrounding waterfront areas that are there, the cleanup for those is already part of our Harborside master plan that we've been working on for so long, which will directly feed into the function and feasibility of this hotel area. I recreate in this space several nights a week. I walk down there all the time. And from the second the weather is barely decent until the time that it's no longer barely decent, people are there fishing, hanging out in every available waterway, every day, every night. So I don't know why we think that it'll be somehow less attractive to people when we make it more attractive to people, which is already an integral part of our city planning. I also feel very, very strongly that a hotel is desperately needed in this area. And again, what are we doing but letting the site sit here languishing without any use? Other businesses have already proven they can be successful in that area, the Turtle, despite the challenges that are associated with it. So in my opinion, I think that this is a good go. I think it will be something that continues to improve the character of our city and its usability. So I am a definite yes.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, it's just, I think it comes down to, there's a company that's willing to take a chance on our city. They believe in us. They think they'll have success here. So the question is, do you believe in our city too? Do you want to see success for our city? People always talk about how we never have this or we never have that. This is something that we can show, yes, we can have this here and this can be successful. And I need to keep reminding people that the city is not building this hotel, so let's take a chance on this.
Any further discussion?
I just had one question.
Yeah.
Is this in any way improving the sale of that property?
Yeah. I mean, that's what this is. the first
So-
telegram.
So if I'm correct,
Subject to
we need a 3/4 majority, 5 votes to approve sale of city property.
No. That's for, if it's for little and no consideration, and it pays $900,000 in significant increase.
Well, that's not the way I read it. Okay, I would. City code 23-4 says, and I looked it up under Nikon and I also looked it up under New York State law. It's sale of city property requires 3/4 vote to approve a sale of property. I have it here just a second.
It's 24-3.
24.
Sale of other real property.
Okay.
It just seems to me that
I would think that would be a point of order.
our council here is divided into two
It's right here.
groups, as we quite often are. And if we're gonna think about this city having any kind of future at all, we need to come together. We need to be together. We need to be talking about how to make things better, not always finding fault with everything from the outset. That piece of property down there is probably the most valuable piece of property, undeveloped piece of property in this city. So to let it languish, as Council Town said for so long, is just, it's asinine. It's irresponsible. It's very irresponsible. And I know that, Councilor Gibbs here always has her points to make, and they're usually against anything Mayor Rosenquist wants to do. I don't know why. But don't, you don't have to do that because it's true. Watch lots of videos. But we need to get past that. We need to get to a point where we can say, we 6 people, we 7 people, if you count the mayor. We are interested in doing what's best for our city. Our
Explain why
citizens
it's
see.
always divided. As a newcomer, you explain to me why it's always divided. I can guarantee almost every meeting is going to be divided. It's always going to be renowned. I'm telling you right now.
The truth is, we actually do agree on a lot of votes. We still get a lot of good work done in this council. We do. There's a lot of things that we pass. Well, it's these more high profile issues where we become divided. And the truth is that is reflective also of who we represent, because people are split. So it does make sense that as a council, you would also have that representative.
We were work together.
Sure, we're gonna call the question.
We go back to this
Do
agreement.
we have,
Please.
Well, I will say, like, I had got my papers, but when we transferred the Bryan property, Dean reminded us that we needed a 3/4 vote to transfer that.
Again, that's consideration of for.
Okay, I think you're wrong on that. I don't read it.
Well, can I read that loud, Dean, and
Dean's got the paper right in front of him.
the consideration be paid or given the person acquiring the property is very reasonable, the transfer does not constitute non. It goes on. The council may make such transfers for consideration or without consideration on such terms as it deems proper, only on 3/4 majority vote of all of the members of the council. That sounds to me like we need majority vote. Not, sorry, super majority. That language, I just want to make sure that we're following our own code here.
What's a super majority?
That's 5 out of 6,
So
Not
that's
just
a- That's a 3/4 majority vote.
which is 5.5. So we're round up, or sorry, 4.5, which is 5. We don't have a half a person here. So it's, I just want to make sure legally.
Yes, how do you know how everybody's going to vote?
Just asking the question, which I am entitled to. It's probably, but I have to demand functions. That's correct. That's what I said.
Counselor, please, okay, Counselor. There's a call to question, okay? Keep it civil. Understand about that. There's no drama.
I will not be attacked.
Okay,
That's your problem.
nobody wants to be attacked, Counselor Gibbs. Nobody does, okay? There's a call to question on the board.
Yes.
Okay, please do the roll call.
But we don't have the answer.
There's a call to question, please roll call.
Counselor Bond,
What am I voting on?
You're voting on the development.
the resolution,
Oh, that's, that would no.
no, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No.
Counselor Kelly,
I know that the company that is doing this development is watching this. They're watching
Okay,
this.
Counselor Kelly.
Okay,
Counselor-
I'm going to vote
Yes.
yes.
Thank you.
Counselor Gibbs,
No.
Counselor Talon,
Yeah.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
No,
Mayor,
Yes, please. Carry.
item 7.17 is withdrawn. Item 7.171, authorize,
Now, please.
item 7.1,
I'm not talking to you, Counselor Bond. Thank you.
item 7.171, authorize order and judgment of stipulation 15 Pouch Street.
Motion by Counselor Gibbs, second by Counselor Talon, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs, no, Counselor Talon,
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
no,
Carry.
item 7.172, authorize settlement agreement with the town of Plattsburgh involving the sewer services agreement and CSO related issues.
Motion by Counselor Bob, second. Counselor Kelly, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Talon,
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
yes,
Carry.
item 7.173, authorize renewal contract for assessment services.
Motion. Counselor Bob, second. Counselor Talon, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Talon, Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
yes,
Carry.
item 7.174, authorize budget adjustments, general fund, Varner and Judy.
Motion. Counselor Bob, second by Counselor Kelly, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs, no, Counselor Talon, Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
yes,
Carry.
item 7.175, authorized contract for youth safety advocate, PCSD.
Motion. Counselor Bond, second.
Counselor Talon, second.
Oh, I apologize. Counselor Talon, second, discussion. Oh, yeah, sure. So the city of Plattsburgh and the school district goes into a partnership to add youth safety advocate, otherwise known as SRO, the SRO. Yeah, safety resource officer. It's a retired peace officer that resides in the school for public safety purposes. We've got a contract with the school district right now. It's going well. They're asking for an additional youth safety officer to be added, youth safety advocate to be added to their program.
Ultimately, my comment on this is just that they pay for it, so if they want it, that's up to them, but again.
They do pay for it. They reimburse the salary for the officer.
So while I've said many times, I'd really, really love to see the district invest in prevention methods. If this is something they're willing to pay for and they all support, then.
Okay, I will also say when there was the threat, that was hard. That was hard, leaving City Hall and just in your mind thinking what could be happening at the high school. And thinking, hey, it's nice to know that people are responding, but it was very emotionally challenging and very disturbing thinking about what could be happening up there without that resource. So I would hope that I understand that people may not support it, but I would hope that because of some of these reasons, and again, we are not immune. We are not immune to these things.
Well, on that point, there's no evidence that having them in place does anything. for
Sure,
that,
sure.
but, yeah,
But
it makes people feel more secure.
What the response as well, it'd be nice to have somebody a little bit closer for that kind of person. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'll make my usual
Yes.
statement annually, like I think there's too much risk for the city. I have nothing against the resource officer. But I believe the school should hire them directly. I don't think the city should get involved. That gives us liability. This is an armed guy. If something should go south on it, we could end up paying a huge lawsuit. So in my opinion, it's not worth the risk for us to get involved in this. The school should do it on their own. That's my opinion.
So just to clarify that, and we go back and forth, I'm not gonna talk about the liability part of it, but I know that we do have contracts with the school district that does protect the city of Plattsburgh. But the school district can't directly hire a peace officer. It has to be done through a law enforcement agency. It cannot hire somebody to be on.
Yeah, some of the places go through the sheriff's department.
Sure,
that's fine.
some they do, but the point is that they have to go through a law enforcement agency. They can't just hire somebody off the street to do private security like that. So, anyway. Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
No.
Counselor Kelly,
No,
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Talon. Yes. Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
No,
Yes, please,
Yes.
Carrie.
Item 7.176, authorized travel request, police department.
All right.
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Bob, second by Councilor Kelly, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
yes,
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Talon. Yes. Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carrie.
Item 7.177, authorizing MLB to write off unpaid final bills as required by the New York Department of Public Service Regulations.
Motion. Councilor Bob, second. Councilor Kelly, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yeah.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Talon. Yes. Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carrie.
Item 7.178, authorizing MLB to bond the Margaret Street lighting system improvement.
Motion. Councilor Bob, second. Councilor Kelly, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
yes,
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Talon. Yes. Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carrie.
Item 7.179, authorized budget adjustment sewer fund WRRF chemical and sludge hauling.
Motion. Councilor Kelly, second by Councilor Talon, discussion. Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I just have one thing I'd like to say on that is that due to inflation and whatnot, we hopefully will take this into account in the budget season that a lot of these things have gone up considerably. They're not small ranges, so something to keep in mind, not just in the wastewater plant, but all the materials that we use, we're gonna have to make sure we cover the increased cost.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
yes,
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Talon. Yes. Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes,
Carrie.
Item 7.180, revising capital project H5110.944, 2023 Margaret Street construction.
Motion. Councilor Bob, second by Councilor Kelly, discussion.
You guys can make it.
Yeah, I
Can I
plan
get an
on,
explanation of
I
the-
plan on jumping in on this because this one was an item, this one and the next one are both items that came to the infrastructure committee meeting. there's actually three items that came to the infrastructure meeting that we didn't really, not really able to, work through and completely. This is a revision to the, cost model, the funding model to the Merlin Street project. One thing that we are looking at is our CHIPS funding, which are increased. And so we're looking to shift $1 million out of the general fund funding back into CHIPS funding. So that takes $1 million off of general fund estimate, which originally was 2.985 million. We're now looking at reducing that general fund obligation to 1.985 million. On the other side of that, increasing the CHIPS funding from that 1 million, but then it also is in conjunction with an additional $300,000 change order to fund that change order, which is to come. But I will address that change order because that is part of the increased funding for this. $300,000 change order to include the paving of Broad Street between Oak to the bridge, going from west to east on Broad Street. And then also paving Cornelia Street from Miller to Oak as well. So that's the change order. The reason why you put the change order in the Market Street project is because we have the material down here, we have a construction contract down here. It's going to be a little bit cheaper to do it in parcel to add on to the adjacent streets, on the project.
So
That funding is also being paid for by CHIP. It's a CHIP project. So those are the two items that are coming, this one and the next one.
why are we doing it this way? Why are we taking $1 million away from the general fund bond obligation? That's what I'm trying to say. Why are we sort of rearranging the money? Do we have this extra money in CHIPS or are we requesting?
No, that's it. We cannot request, we don't request extra money in CHIPS. We get what we get. And that new award is what's being accounted for here. So that is money that we are getting through CHIPS. The reason why that's a little bit of an interesting question. Why are we reducing the general fund amount? Because we don't want to spend more general fund money when we can spend grant money.
Why didn't we do it that way to begin with? Then?
What did we do? What way?
Why didn't we?
Because we didn't, because we didn't have the CHIPS balance at the time. So we made the adjustments once we realized we had a lot more CHIPS money that was coming to us.
Okay, and you also are requesting from New York State DOT that this become a permanent amount?
No.
Did I read that in the document?
Two separate issues.
Separate.
Yep, two separate issues. We already get CHIPS money every single year.
I knew that.
This project originally pulled $2.985 million for the general fund. That was what we were going to bond originally for this project. Because we got a new CHIPS award, we got our new monies for next year, for this year, next year, we're looking at supplanting $1 million or reducing the $1 million general fund payment. And then using CHIPS money instead to pay for that $1 million.
All right.
Okay, thank you. And in addition to the 1 million, we're also increasing the project cost by $300,000 to include the paving of Cornelia and Broad Street.
Okay, I'm confused here, though. I didn't think we had that much CHIPS money. This must be some of the touring routes money also.
Okay, so when I say CHIPS, I mean CHIPS, touring routes, paving your potholes,
Okay,
EWR, it's a whole bucket of cash that we get for road construction.
So how much of this is gonna be from the touring route?
I don't know. I think what we do is we just kind of pick what fund it comes from and, you know, like I said, it's essentially a big bucket of money that we say, we can use this money for this particular construction project. We know that you can use CHIPS for capital purchases like trucks and things like this. You actually also use it for employee offset, but we don't do that. Should I not have said?
Yeah, well, the reason I was looking to separate it is because, you know, they have a little bit different regulation on it, like the CHIPS can be used.
Right,
What
and
you
that-
explained.
Right, and that's what we do. We take a look at the $1 million and we say, okay, we can use this pot of money, whether it's $500,000 from CHIPS or $500,000 from touring routes. We know that we can use that pot of money for this specific project. But in terms of what pot of money is coming out of in the total CHIPS package, that's Casey, like, you know, Casey will do this.
I'd like to know that it isn't going to affect my goal.
Sure, I'll provide that. I'll ask Mike and Casey to provide that breakdown and we can send that breakdown for the total $5 million projected use of CHIPS funding for this project. Any further discussion? Sorry, was that a fair enough explanation? Long, robust. Okay. Whew. Okay, any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Talon. Yes. Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.181, award of change order for the Market Street reconstruction project.
Motion, Counselor Bob, second. Counselor Talon, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
No.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Carried.
Item 7.182, revising capital project H5110.96, 2023 street resurfacing.
Motion. Counselor Bob, second by Counselor Kelly, discussion. Simply put, we're adding Durkee Street from Broad to Bridge on this one. It's in horrible shape and it really needs this. So, and again, we're in the same area. It's tacked on to this project. Paid for by CHIPS. Yeah. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Bond.
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
No.
Counselor Talon. Yes. Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Carried. There's no need to go into executive session tonight. Is there any new business that comes before this council tonight?
This on the,
Oh, I'm sorry, one second. Counselor Bob.
I was introducing as well.
What is this?
Short term rental.
No, what is that?
Is with my stuff.
No, that is, good. I'll take that back. Thank you very much. I did not appreciate it. It won't be for you and like, just give us some time to work on it more. Sorry, Counselor, Gibbs.
I just wondered, we don't engage with people when they come up for public comment. That young man, Mr. Fitzwater, came up to talk about the parade route. Is there anything in the works to grant the request from the students and the school? To grant a permit?
Well, he did speeches.
Oh, you know how I love kids.
Yeah.
Counselor Gibbs.
I just wondered if you would, well, he's looking.
I say that coming cheap, by the way. I do love kids. I have one in my house.
No, I think that's a fair question. Can we do that?
Fair question.
Well, you
Okay.
can, are we going to?
So here's been the debate. One, I don't know when the last time we did a Broad Street parade. It was not during my tenure. And it was not something that unfortunately, we felt like this administration or anybody here took away. I don't know when the last time we did a Broad Street parade, but I will say that one of the reasons why we shy away from it is because it is the central road through the city, and it becomes extremely problematic also with college. Pricey in terms of DPW resources and police resources. We do also charge for those resources. We don't just give away parades for free, nor have we given away a parade for free unless it's a city parade. We charge private groups to host parades, we charge other people to host parades, but again, if it's a city event that we host, we do not charge that. So then there's that factor. Do we charge for that parade, which I think would be fair, but then it also is extremely pricey, which we have offered that, and they were like, oh, we can't afford it.
Well,
So-
it's the same taxing jurisdiction, so I don't understand why we would charge it at all. School and city pay taxes and different if you're a private organization. And you or any organization, but the schools and the city are the same taxing. So I just am looking to find out, is this going to be granted?
I will look into it. I have no definitive answer right now.
All right.
Councilor Kelly.
One suggestion I would make to those high school students is why not use the Saranac River Trail? It starts at the middle school and ends at the high school. And it's a great place for any type of activity, walking.
And you can go tomorrow.
Walk to strategic locations that are close to parking and enjoy.
No float going through that.
Without it costing the city a fortune.
That was an actual recommendation made by the school district themselves, and when the young man and the group is here asking for this, those folks may have rejected it already, I don't know. But that is a conversation that I heard about as a recommendation for this parade route.
Do we know when homecoming is?
Usually in October, right?
October-ish.
Yeah, maybe end of September. So we have, maybe this is something we need to figure out by probably next council.
I think,
You're saying it right.
they used to have the football games, at Melissa Penfield Park, they used to march from the middle school to the park, that used to be their parade route, and now it's different, they've got the. The high school.
Thank you.
What's the other?
I'm not saying this to chastise anybody, but I know that some of these items are contentious. We just try to give some room for each other to express our opinions. Right? This is a professional environment. Just please just, we are here the leaders of our community. When we act like this, it don't work. Just don't work. Yeah, so just please give some room for each other and patience and understanding when our opinions may not differ. It's not a grudge, it's not personal to you if somebody does not share the same opinion. And during the opportunity to discuss items or even to debate items, it's a debate. Everybody has their own opinion about what's good and what's bad and what should and what should not be. I just I just don't like to see it. Our folks don't like to see it, and yeah, again, nothing else to say about that. Motion to adjourn. Councilor Graves, second. Councilor Tom.
Whoa, gotta do roll call.
All in favor?
Hi.
So, I guess it's running, but if you want to.